Hello everybody and welcome back inside the box for another episode of Gunpla Kitbash with me, Kukamatsu. In this episode we're going to start putting the Freedom panels onto the Barbatos frame. So, let's jump right in. Okay, we have that all stabilized, and in terms of the inner frame, and now it's time to do some work with the panels, deciding what we want to have on there and what we want to keep exposed. These front panels actually fit pretty well just straight out of the gate like that. So it'll be a matter of figuring out how to get them to stay on in a stable way. Definitely want to keep these pistons showing. So then the question becomes what to do about these, about the front here. So I think it is going to be a matter of just trimming back some of the inner frame to get these sitting in there again. And then the last part will be the back. And again, I think that's just going to be a certain amount of trimming to get it to fit back there. It's not quite as easy as the front, although, you know, it's surprisingly good overall. So I don't think it's going to take too much to get that on there. Once again, I want to retain the visibility on those pistons there. So I'm going to have to try and figure out a way that it just fits on there without covering up all the good stuff. So let's get going. Oops, I had it upside down before. This piece goes on this way, and then that piece goes on below like that. Let's just put these side pieces on with some sticky tack so we get a sense of how it's all going to fit together. The natural spot is right there for that one. It is kind of amazing how well that fits, but the question is, does it fit with everything together? I think the main thing getting in the way is this piece here, and what I'm trying to figure out is it better to cut that piece off to get that on, or is it better to dig out the inside of that and then slide it over top? Maybe it's a combination of both. This has the little fold-up mechanism that I can no longer use since I don't have the inner frame, and I don't need to fold it up anyway, so I'm just going to cut those tabs out and see what that gets me. I don't want to really dig farther than that because then I start interfering with the connection point between the red and blue parts. So I think I am going to have to trim a bit of that inner frame. There we go, that's starting to work a little bit better there. Still kind of unstable, but let's just hold it in with sticky tack for now. It feels close to fitting, but I think I just need to trim out a bit more there, so that I can push it up and back a little bit. I'm going to just trim out a bit of that. Actually, I just realized that pushing it too far back, it makes it look weird. The way this flows into that is, I think, the important thing. In the original, it actually sits up a bit more like that in terms of height, but then the head is higher. So I'm just going to pull that down a little bit, but just still have the nice shape flowing from one to the other. If I push it too far back, then you start to lose that elegance, I think. So we'll just keep that pulled out like that. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Now I just need to figure out a way to actually stabilize it without just using sticky tack. I have some styrene here that is actually a pretty good width for that space there. So I think I'm going to try that. It's actually nice and snug. So maybe if I can get that attached to there at the right angle, it will be a good way to be able to take it on and off. We'll start shortening it a little bit by bit to get closer to where we need it to be. This is definitely one of the tricky parts of just getting the first one stabilized. If you get it right, then it makes all the rest of them easy because you can reference to that one. But at the moment, everything is just stuck on with sticky tack, so it's all a little bit squidgy. I just want to get that one central piece in the right spot. There's still quite a bit of a gap between the white piece and the blue, which is what I want to attach it to. So I'm going to put some spacers in there. So that's pretty close to where I want it to be now, I think. There is still some ability for this to move up and down, so I want to stabilize that as well before I attach the panels to it. So I'm just going to stick this other piece up in here. And I'm going to put a piece between them to maintain that angle. Okay, that gives us a good piece to fit in there now. Nice and snug. Now to attach this piece, what I'm thinking of is epoxy putty. Just get a little ball of it on the end there and then stick that on. Let me see if that's going to work. I got some of this Tamiya epoxy putty quick type, which I've never used before. So let's try that out and see if this is going to work for this. So if you've never seen this stuff before, it's pretty easy to use. You just take equal parts of the two different colors. You mix them together. Here, once they're thoroughly mixed, and you end up with something like that. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to stuff that down in there, and then put it on here. I guess I want the angle to be pretty much the same as the outside. I always mix too much epoxy putty, but better to have too much than too little. This is a lot extra, a bit of a waste, but the good thing about having some extra is that when this sets, you know that that has set. So I'm just going to let that sit for a few minutes and see how it goes. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. Well, it says it's fast setting and then cures in about 6 hours, so hopefully fast setting means relatively quick, and then I can continue working. I don't want to have to stop here just because it's going to take forever for this thing to set. One of the reasons I tend to avoid the epoxy putty is because of the long setting time. While that's setting, I'm going to carefully try and do some work on the back, and so that I can keep moving forward. This actually sits pretty well like this. One of the things that I really need to consider here, though, is that I want to reattach the backpack, and so having that connection point is going to be important. So let me get the inner frame from the original and see how that might work. Okay, here's the connection point for the original, and this would go on there like that. So what I really need to retain is that middle section. Let's just remove all the stuff that we don't need from this and see what's left. You know, I don't hate it being pulled out this far. This is actually kind of cool. I would need to do something interesting to fill that space there. But it's kind of neat to have it exposing that piston there. And what that could hopefully mean is that I just need to attach this piece to here, which would be pretty simple. Okay, for that to work, it looks like I need to put a slight spacer on there and there. Well, I think that's fitting better now, and I think I can just glue this piece on directly. Cool, it's feeling pretty solid on there. Let's see how this works now. The only other thing I was wondering about is if I can reuse the collar piece of the original. I do like the articulated one on the Barbatos frame, but we have this space in the front here now. This is still not set, but I'll have to be careful while doing this, but I'm just wondering if that can fit in there. So let me just pop off the head here. Well, it looks good from the front, but looks dumb from the side. Maybe I can actually have it sit back a little bit like that, and then I can do something to fill that space there. I think I'll start by cutting out this middle section in the back, because I know that's going to be in the way for sure. So if I just go straight across there. Just trim the corner off the back. That might work. Let's See how this goes. I might have to take off this white collar to try that. There's just too much going on in there. I can always put it back if I have to after. Still sitting a bit high, but maybe getting rid of these pegs will help. That's much better. Definitely going to need to do something in here. I don't know if it's going to be extending this back or just putting something mechanical looking in that spot, continuing that shape forward. It is looking cool. The ideal would be that it didn't continue straight up there, but turned and went down that way. The other possibility is to trim it right there so it ends immediately and then put the white collar back on. Maybe I'll give that a try. Then it really is just the front part here to fill in that gap without actually being a collar per se. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So it just sits in there, and then I can put the this collar back on here. Yeah, I think that kind of works. I'll put something interesting there to fill the gap. I think that's looking pretty cool. It really stretches it out this way from the side profile, because I mean normally this piece would be touching that piece. But I like it. I like that it does that. So I think we made good progress here. The mechanical kitbash part is I think what's going to fill these other spaces, and that'll come another day. My main goal for this week was to get those panels sort of sorted out, sitting basically the way we want them. Still lots to do on this area, but I think it's looking great. Thank you very much for watching. That is the end of this week's episode. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you give me a like on your way out, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.